A judge has ruled British police won't be able to fully inspect a laptop or other items taken from the partner of a journalist who was involved in publishing NSA spy leaks. David Miranda was detained and questioned for 9 hours under the Terrorism Act in London. The government has been under fire ever since, detaining him, as well as forcing the Guardian newspaper to destroy files containing NSA data. RT's Laura Smith has more from London.
This is a story that gets more and more bizarre as it unfolds, with a high-level government involvement, we now know, and now David Miranda's lawyers who have come out threatening legal action against the government. They want his belongings returned. They don't want any further searches performed against him. He, of course, was detained at Heathrow for 9 hours and questioned, all his electronic devices taken away, his passwords got out of him for investigation by the security services. We actually have got a small clip of what his lawyer said.
The court accepted today that in order for the Home Office and police to look at that material, there has to be a genuine threat to national security. The Home Office and police now have 7 days to prove that there is a genuine threat to national security, rather than make mere assertions as they have done today.
So that's more embarrassment for the government, potentially, on top of what is turning into really a very embarrassing situation for them. We now know of top-level involvement in the government. Prime Minister David Cameron was intimately involved in the decision to detain David Miranda, and also in the decision it now becomes clear to destroy the files belonging to The Guardian that were released by Edward Snowden. Deputy Prime Minister Nick Clegg also was made aware of and supported that decision. And this has exposed the government to a lot of criticism, increasing amounts of criticism. They have been criticised by a German human rights minister who said that he felt that the British government had crossed a line in its destruction of the files and in detaining David Miranda at Heathrow Airport. And he said that the actions of the government left him truly appalled. We've also heard of a letter from the Council of Europe, which has been addressed to the Home Secretary, which is also criticising that decision and looking at how Europe could be involved in this.
Press freedom is a very, very high value across Europe, and we apply the same standards to all our member states. You will recall that many states have been in the spotlight regarding press freedom, especially in Eastern Europe. Europe has been commenting the situation in Hungary recently, but also in Turkey and in other states. But I think we have to apply the same standards to all our members. And these two actions do pose certain questions. We're asking some background information from the UK government, and I'm pretty sure we will receive a response.
There are a lot of questions in this case, and hopefully in an effort to plug some of those holes, I'm talking to Dia Chakravarti from the Freedom Association. Dia, thanks for being here. Now, we've been talking about the destruction of the information at the Guardian newspaper, this smashing of hard drives and disks in the basement of the newspaper. In the light of the fact that other copies of this information clearly existed, and the editor of the Guardian told the authorities that they did, how can the government maintain that this protects lives?
It does, as you just said in your introduction, it does get more and more bizarre, because as Alan Rusbridger had also said in his blog, this act of destruction, of this physical destruction of the hard disks, seemed like nothing but a pointless piece of symbolism, which is his words, Alan Rusbridger's word for it, because as you say, there are copies of it available elsewhere, and we know from since when the Snowden matter, the Snowden controversy broke, we know that journalists no longer exchange data electronically, So now the only thing that's going to happen is journalists are going to avoid coming into London to carry out their work. Or the other explanation could be that the security, our security personnel just don't have any idea how electronically, how data can be transferred electronically and how these things work. Both of those things are pretty serious concerns.
Another thing that the Guardian editor said was that the newspaper was threatened with legal action if it didn't surrender these files, something they're calling prior restraint. So shutting down reporting through the courts. I mean, is there any precedent for this, and what would be the point of it?
See, prior restraint is something that was widely used during the Second World War to protect the location of military units. things like that. Precedent, in terms of precedents, we've more recently seen celebrities taking out super injunctions. That's another potential example of that. Now, there is good reason to use this sort of measures if national security is actually in danger, like in the case of military personnel, or if there's sort of gross attack on personal privacy, which is of no use to which doesn't have to be in public domain. Public don't need to know about it, but those things have to be defined very narrowly. You can't just go ahead and use them for any old case.
We'll be following this story as it unfolds and becomes, as we've both said, more and more bizarre.